Finder, and they've got 4 stories on their front page. The big one is about agribusiness, which is being touted as Ghana's new engine of industrial growth. Details are on page 4. And then we've got the Ghana Statistical Service suggesting that we focus on high growth sectors to sustain economic momentum. Of course, they are still doing good work and gathering data to help us make decisions, but do we use it? Agriculture powers Ghana's quarter 3 growth with some 8.6% expansion. And then the last one on the front page this morning, Ghana Education Service launches a probe into the assault on the Kade SHTS teacher, and they are vowing strict sanctions.
Now, if you go to the Daily Graphic, the president is on the front page. Calls to scrap OSP premature. President Mahama declares demands speeding up of prosecution. So the president says the calls are premature. Majority leader is also working to change the fortunes of that office. Now, still on the front page of the Daily Graphic, dangerous metals found in food cosmetics. And Winston, it will shock you the type of foods and cosmetics that have these dangerous metals. We have these dangerous metals in stuff like what do you call it? Cereal mixes, okay, turmeric, bentonite clay known as ailo, kaji, and skin lightening creams. And some of these dangerous metals, there is lead, there is cadmium, there is mercury. And this study was conducted by our own Food and Drugs Authority and the United Nations Children's Fund.
Do they conduct these tests on things like water? You know, the water we buy, the bottled water we buy.
They do.
Okay.
They do.
Do they publish the results?
They do. And the other one we discussed earlier this year actually are taking samples of water across some geographical areas. With this study, we are told that they picked over 1,500 samples. So that's one of the stories in the Daily Graphic. And still with the Daily Graphic, EC sets December 30 for Pandai parliamentary election rerun. And President assents to COVID-19 repeal law. And we are told that the repeal of the COVID-19 levy is going to put 3.7 billion Ghana cedis in the pockets of Ghanaians.
The Daily Guide this morning is also talking about similar stories, speaking to the president's COVID-19 withdrawal and then the Pandai election rerun. But other stories you'd find on the front page of the Daily Guide this morning includes the Lithium agreement, the fact that government is withdrawing the Barari DV agreement. We understand it will allow for further engagements and consultations on the matter. The SkyTrain case, court is now ordering witnesses to produce 16 emails. And speaking of transport, Okada bill laid in Parliament in fulfillment of the promise that the NDC made prior to the election. So these are some of the stories you'd find on the front page of the Daily Guide this morning.
Now, if you go to the Overseer newspaper, right medicine at the right time for Ghanaians, a journey the Ghana Medical Trust Fund is seeking to embark on with Pfizer in its quest to improve the quality of life of Ghanaians. We are told that Obobia Dako Poko and a team are talking to Pfizer to see whether we can reach an agreement to ensure we have consistent supply of the right medicines at the right costs and at the right time for Ghanaians. Repeal of COVID-19 levy will put 3.7 billion Ghana cedis into the pockets of Ghanaians. And the SkyTrain case, AG first witness ordered to produce 16 emails. And
I'm interested in the Bobia. We're engaging Pfizer so that they supply.
Okay, so the story says that the Ghana Medical Trust Fund is initiating steps to get the right medication at the right time for Ghanaians, and it will be serving under this new health intervention initiative. Now, the story says on Wednesday, on the sidelines of the ongoing WHX Leaders Africa Summit in Accra, the administrator of the fund, Obobia Dako Poku, met with a delegation from Pfizer, and the meeting discussed ways the two entities could partner and fashion out ways Ghanaians could enjoy the best of healthcare, especially under the Ghana Medical Trust Fund. And Obobia said that the fund will leave no stone unturned in its quest to achieve its 4 main pillars, which are providing financial assistance for approved persons, investing in medical equipment, infrastructure development, and human resources. And according to him, the collaboration that they seek is to ensure that no Ghanaian is left behind due to cost, geography, or limited access to essential therapies. And this marks a promising start to a long-term partnership between the Trust Fund and Pfizer as we work together towards a Ghana where everyone can receive world-class care when they need it most. So that's the story.
Interesting. I mean, what I would prefer is how they can actually partner indigenous companies, build capacity, so they can manufacture these.
Like FPAC, Danadams, all the...
I mean, everything. I mean, just get indigenous Ghanaian companies. Because you see, we're always talking about how we can promote Ghana. And so if we have funds that we can use, what do?
We put those funds in our local economy.
Put it in here. Get people to manufacture it.
To be local champions and then extend them into the sub-region.
Exactly. Years ago, we knew of how Dan Adams was manufacturing ARVs, that's antiretroviral drugs. Okay, the World Bank was assisting them to do that. I think that at every point in time, we should look within.
So that the Amponsedro FPAC will keep sorting our headaches and body aches.
That's the way to go. Because see, if that man grows, and I've said this before in business retention and expansion studies, what we've realized is that and some put it at 60, some put it at 70, some put it at 80. So we say between 60 to 80% of new jobs are created by existing businesses. New jobs are not created by new businesses. So that man expands. When he expands his production, when he expands his business, he would need more people. So that's how you do it. So let's begin to look within. Let's not do everything we are doing partnership. Well, maybe later on when the details come out, but the first thing we must always think about is Ghana.
Okay, and to give you a bit more, we've mentioned Dan Adams and FPAC. We also have Iton Drug Manufacturing Limited, Kena Pharma Limited. We have NS Chemits. We have Danes Iton Starwin. We have Lagray Chemical, Tobinco Pharmaceuticals, Phytorica, which is Gihok Pharmaceuticals Limited. All these are either wholly owned Ghanaian companies or majority owned Ghanaian companies. So we think that instead of seeking a partnership with Pfizer, we should use the funding we have to support these companies to solve our problems.
Support them.
I support you.
Yeah.
The Insight is talking about similar stories, but there's also one about Ghana deporting 3 Israelis over detention of some parliamentary delegation, we understand, who made a trip to Tel Aviv. That is being captured here on the front page of the Insight newspaper amid growing, what they are terming a growing diplomatic row. The updates we're getting from the foreign ministry is that both parties have agreed now to dialogue over the matter. So yeah, you can get details when you grab a copy of the Insight this morning.
Okay, so let's give you some of the details of stories before we go online.
Let's go online first.
Okay. And I'm going to start from my Joe Online. Mustafa Gbande is on the landing page. He says that we had enormous support from the NPP base to win the 2024 elections. Mustafa is an executive of the NDC. Now, Gbande alleges Afenyo Makin had proprietary interest in judiciary and calls him a subcontractor of the judiciary. And he says NPP insiders helped Mahama's comeback because enough was enough for them. Now, BOG scales back on FS intermediation for December, plans selling $800 million. Now, more stories. Ayariga Dafiamekpo draft bill to abolish OSP. So the Daily Graphic's lead story is calls to scrap OSP premature, according to the president.
Let's just listen to the president. Listen to what President John Mahama said on that.
I don't enjoy prosecuting people, but I mean, the people of Ghana will not forgive us if people develop impunity in terms of abusing the trust that people have put in them. And so that's why we're resourcing the Economic and Organized Crime Office and the other anti-corruption institutions, including the Office of the Special Prosecutor. And recently, there have been some controversy with the Office of the Special Prosecutor. I think it's premature to call for the closure of that office. The unique thing about that office is it is the only anti-corruption agency that has prosecutorial powers to be able to prosecute themselves without going through the Attorney General. And so people had mistrust with the Attorney General because the Attorney General normally is a member of government and is a minister of state. And so they believe that the Attorney General will be very reluctant to prosecute his own. But if there's an independent office like the Office of the Special Prosecutor, it won't matter who you are because they have security of tenure and they have prosecutorial powers, whether you're a member of government or you're a member of a previous government or you are anybody who has, misappropriated public funds. They have the law is behind them to be able to prosecute you. So I think we should give them a little time. Of course, people want to see, more prosecutions and more results. And so I'll just urge the OSP to speed up, some of these investigations and, show people that the office is still very relevant.
Show people that the office is still relevant. President John Mahama, he believes that the call is premature, is a little too early.
So only advise Ayarga and Daffy Amepo to hold on with their draft bill.
Well, that's a good question because John Mahama is actually the leader of the NDC. And if the NDC feels that what Ayarga and Co are doing, what Ayarga and Roxton are doing, could affect the NDC's position on corruption, they can call them to order. They can.
I blame my Kukui for all this. That his ruling has made it an entrenched fact that members of parliament represent their party first. Which kind of makes a little bit of nonsense of a private member's bill. Because in essence, you cannot propose any bill that goes against the wishes of your party. You can't. If you are there to represent your party. So your private member's bill is not a private member's bill.
Yeah.
What does your party want?
Yeah.
That's what you are there to do.
Yeah.
So, if things follow logic, then Daffy Amepo and Ayarga are on a frolic, which will have to come to an end. Because the leader of their party says, give the institution more time.
And Ayarga's comment on the third term issue, which is also a story on my Joy Online. For example, Bandi says that the president is too busy fixing Akufo-Addo's mess and has no time for the MPP third term propaganda. But when Ayarga was asked about it, do you know what he said?
Tell me.
He said that, look, as a majority leader, he does what his party says he should do. So if it comes up that the party wants to push a third term agenda, whether he agrees or disagrees, he will do his work, right? So think about the OSP's draft bill, think about the president's position, and think about the position Ayarga is in right now. So at this particular point, is he doing his own bidding as a representative of his people up in Boko? Or this draft bill is something he's doing in the interest of his party, with the support of his party, therefore the support of the president, who says that the conversations about the scrapping of OSP is premature?
Well, I remember when the whole conversation about whether the president could do a third term, the president announced that he was not going to do a third term. He respects the Constitution, and the Constitution says he can only do 2 terms. So if the Constitution is changed and the Constitution says he can do 3 terms, would he do it? But of course, who is going to change the Constitution to allow the president to do 3 terms?
The supermajority.
Hold on a minute.
That particular clause requires
Hold on a minute,
doesn't it?
Hold on a minute. At the end of it, it has to go through a referendum.
Yes, but the supermajority can
But
enable that.
if you're going to change something which could actually lead to a referendum, a cost on the state, you have to be very careful. Because that provision, the lawyers would argue that Article 108.10 will say anything that you do that adds a cost to the consolidated fund, you cannot do it through a private member's bill.
Yeah.
So that's important. That's one of the things you should look out for. The other point also is that in today's NDC, would they want John Dramani Mahama to do a third term? Well, some say he should do a third term. But there are others who are also lacing their boots to contest. For those people, would it be in their interest to say John Mahama should do, or President Mahama should do a third term? I say no. It wouldn't be in their interest. So those people may impress upon the president not to do it. But look, last year or last 2 years, I met somebody who was very close to President Akufo-Addo. And in discussion, he said to me that President Akufo-Addo has always asked himself, why do people extend their tenure when their tenure is over? Because as for him, he doesn't have any plan to go beyond the 8 years. He cannot wait. Now, the moment that this thing is over, the man will hand over and go. I don't think President Mahama would want to do a third.
I also don't think so.
I don't think so.
All I think is that he wants to use the remaining 3 years he has to transform Ghana.
I think it's interesting that we are talking about whether or not a third term is based on the desire of the person who holds the office. That is what interests me.
Yeah.
It should not be based on whether or not the person wants a third term. That shouldn't even be a factor. We have a constitution.
Anyway, more stories on my Joe Online. Ghana must take ownership of its lithium. This is according to IEA. The IEA wants us to take full ownership of our lithium, and that story is repeated on the BNFT online. It says IEA pushes for state-owned lithium company, forecast $172 billion in long-term gains. So the IEA says, Charlie, let's look within and own the thing. Now, if you go to citynewsroom.com, government must support credible businesses, not share money to foot soldiers. This is Prince Kofi Amwabing, and Transparency International says that calls to scrap the OSP is unnecessary. And NAPO says regulatory weakness undermines Africa's energy future, and we must work on that. I'm looking for the story, the news that came out yesterday on Ghana's Highlife music, right? It's published on my Joe Online. Ghana's Highlife music and dance inscribed on UNESCO Intangible Cultural Heritage List. Yesterday, there were a lot of countries that had a chance for their intangibles added to the list. For example, kaftans in Morocco. The Moroccan kaftan has been added to the list. But I'm happy about Ghana's Highlife music because there's always been this debate about the origins of Highlife. Nigeria, Ghana, with Prof. Collins and co making interventions.
Yeah, the Nigerian case, when the Sugar Babes went to Lagos in 1934, the Nigerians had a publication and said, this is Highlife.
Yeah.
And it took Professor John Collins to say Sugar Babes is a Ghanaian band established in 1928 in Cape Coast.
And I've seen Jerry Hansen Street in Dansuman. I've seen some streets, I've seen some of our legends. Let's have a Highlife street, a main road or some monument to celebrate Highlife. Because it's key to our heritage, and it's something we can milk to make money.
Well, let's see how it goes, because today a lot of our young ones, some of them do Highlife, others do other things. We have different variations. We have variations of Highlife now, but that's to be expected.
And I can't wait for that Dome FM Highlife party, which is coming up.
I'll be there with you.